Okay, so that let's get to the Gemara.
There's a law says it's no good to bring the dead body in the other side.
That's one view.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a view like
Many people do this.
But,
Okay.
There's another view.
We are Lamed Vav Amud Beis. Sorry, Lamed Zayin Amud Beis, 37b. And yesterday we discussed the proper placement of the tefillin on the hand. And we identified that it should be precisely opposite the heart, horizontally speaking, and therefore it's placed on the lower half, just below the bicep, meaning on the upper, just below the halfway line between the elbow and the shoulder, facing inward, protruding inward towards the heart. That's with respect to the hand tefillin. Now let's see what the head tefillin. So the line begins with the word la'os, and the third word is goiva, and there's a little bays just above the goiva, the word goiva. Lamed Zayin Amud Beis, 37b. Okay.
But which line?
The line begins with the word la'os, itmar, and then the third word is goiva. That's la'ot. Sorry. Yeah. Goiva shebarosh minalon. So how do we know that the head tefillin should be on the upper part of the head, as opposed to the way the verse literally describes it, between your eyes? So the Tan Rabbanan for our sages taught, the verse reads Bein Einecha. Then the verse says V'hoyle tetafes Bein Einecha, and it should be for a tetafes, which we described much earlier means a four-part compartment, or four-compartment box. Right? The word tetafes is a foreign language. Tat means two, and pat means two in different languages. Okay, so it should be between your eyes. That's what the verse said. So the Mishnah says this Mishnaic age text. This refers to the upper part of the head. Now, you say Zugoy v'Shibarosh is the upper part of the head. Maybe it means nothing other than, as the literal meaning reads, Bein Einecha mamish, literally between your eyes. Who said it's got to be up here? Maybe it should be down here. Because that's what the verse says. So it says the Gemara Nemar Khan.
How you can put tefillin between eyes? You can see after.
How you could do it is not the issue. The issue is if you're supposed to do it. Well, you can make very small ones.
Yeah,
you can make very small. I don't know. Maybe just above it. I don't know what the Gemara is thinking. It doesn't matter because it's not the conclusion anyway. But the Gemara is saying maybe the verse actually means to be between your eyes. And then work it out. I don't, whatever it is. Anyways, the Gemara says like this. Never Bein Einecha here, with respect to the law of tefillin, it says it's to be between your eyes. The Nemer Lahalan, it says later, with respect to the prohibition against ripping out one's hair as a sign of mourning, it seems that at the time that was a prevalent custom amongst idol worshippers, that as part of mourning they would rip out their hair and like hurt themselves physically. So we rip clothing, but we are strictly forbidden from doing any damage to our body. There's a number of commandments that go along with that, the tattoo issue and all the other things, and it all falls under the broad category of the idea, as the Alter Rebbe puts it in Hilchas Chayvel Mazik, I think it's there, where he says that our body is not ours. Our bodies are lent to us for a mission, and therefore it's our job to preserve it as much as possible. And therefore it's our job to keep it healthy and to not damage it. Right? So it's forbidden to hurt oneself, etc. So in that general broad category of mitzvahs, there's this commandment not to rip out one's hair in mourning. And there it says, "Le'sasimu karcha bein einechem." You should not make a bald spot between your eyes. Lemeis, over a death. So making a bald spot between your eyes, it's an anomaly, presumably, that one would have a unibrow so much to the point that they can make a bald spot between your eyes. And therefore, malahalan, just like there, what it really means is, begoy v'shibarosh, it means don't rip out from the top of your head, and yet don't rip out the hair from the top of your head, and yet the verse uses beit between your eyes. So makam sha'isa karcha means on the top part of the head, where one would ordinarily rip out one's hair in mourning. Afkan, so to here, when the verse says the word between your eyes, it means on the upper part of the head, the place where you would ordinarily make that bald spot.
It's in the 5 books?
Yeah. So in other words, I don't know if it's an exact Jidei or Shava, but just generally speaking, you kind of look at the terminology the Torah itself uses, and then the context of that word will tell you what the word means. And just like elsewhere, when it says between your eyes, it doesn't mean literally between your eyes. It means up on top of your head, where you would ordinarily rip out your hair, and therefore it says don't rip out your hair. using the words between your eyes. So likewise here, when it says between your eyes, it means that place where you would ordinarily rip out your hair. And apparently, that was the place they used to rip out their hair, right at the top of their head. So we'll get to that in a second. That's correct. So even though it's got to be up here, it's still got to remain between your eyes, as we shall get to.
Literal and partly not.
As we get to it.
Actually,
Sorry?
probably means where the hairline starts.
That's correct.
Inside.
That's right. Which is why the tefillin go just by the hairline. Between the hairline and that place, we identified yesterday the soft spot where the baby's where the skull. Sorry.
Fontanelle.
Fontanelle. That's the word.
Yes,
Okay, I learned something new.
Fontanelle.
It's the place where the three plates of the skull meets, right?
Between your eyes.
Okay, so that space is it for that reason. Okay. Every day.
Good air shots.
So Rabbi Huda says, one is not required to make this whole comparison to elsewhere where the Torah uses the term Menachot. From the very text of Tefillin, you can figure it out that it belongs on top of the head. How so? The Torah says, Hana Tefillin biyad, put Tefillin on your hand. And it also says, Hana Tefillin b'reish, put Tefillin on your head. Okay. Now, there has to be some comparisons between the tefillin on the hand and the tefillin on the head because the mitzvahs come together. Even though they're two distinct mitzvahs, as we've identified here a number of times, especially when we talked about the brachas. But nonetheless, the two mitzvahs come together, along with the mitzvah of writing the mezuzah, which is again why this comparison is there as well, as we've noted already a few times. But here now we're making a comparison between the hand tefillin and the head tefillin, namely, just like with respect to the hand tefillin, it's placed on a location which is capable of becoming impure. Benega acher, with one type of tzaras. Tzaras is the spiritual leprosy, and there's a whole slew of very complicated laws identified right in the Torah. Not even in not only as with most cases, the Torah is cryptic, and the Torah Sheba'al Peh, the oral law, gives the details. Torah Sheba'al itself gives lots and lots of details about the laws of tzaras. Different shades of color, depending where it is. It is on the hair, is it on the hand, is it on the this, all kinds of details. But the bottom line is that the arm is only capable of becoming impure with one shade of color. The hand over here, the arm where the tefillin goes. Afkan, so to here, with respect to the head tefillin, it should be placed b'makam maroi, in a place that's capable of becoming impure, contracting leprosy, b'nega echad, only with one type of leprosy. Let's further explore this. La fuke, this comes to exclude beinei necha, between the eyes, diika basar viseir, where there's both flesh and hair. Diika ser lavan, vikanami ser tzov. Okay, so there are different types of leprosy depending on where the location is. On the head, there is only the issue of hair tzaras, in which case the tzaras is based on a discoloration of yellow. I think of red also, or is it just yellow? Here the Gemara says yellow. So let's just leave it at yellow. Okay, I'm not 100% sure, but for some reason I'm remembering another color.
Yeah, me too.
But maybe I'm not 100% right. At any rate, the point is that on the head, where the hair is, there is only one type of discoloration. The discoloration of the specific discoloration associated with the hair. Whereas between the eyes, on the eyebrows, there's the possibility of two different types of leprosy. Namely, number one, the leprosy of ordinary hair, which we just described as yellow. And likewise, there's also the discoloration of hair that's on skin. And hair that's on skin, say on the hand or on the leg, has an issue of white hairs. And therefore, the hairs of the eyebrow gets both the law of the head hair and the law of skin hair. So it has two types of tzaras that can contract. And therefore, says Rabbi Huda, the hand tefillin, which is on a location which can only get discolored by one type of tzaras, namely skin. Likewise, the head tefillin should be on a location which can only get discoloration of one type, namely the hair, as opposed to the eyebrows, which can get two types of tzaras. Ordinary hair tzaras, plus hair tzaras of the skin, white and yellow. Okay, all of this comes to the conclusion that it should be above your head. But because the verse says, as we just noted, it's got to be between your eyes, so the halacha is it's got to be on top of your head, but located on top of the head, where it's between the eyes. And this is mentioned in Untitled Chapter, and the Mishnah Berurah even says that if it's not between your eyes, if it's on the head, it's not between the eyes, one hasn't fulfilled the obligation. Now, what we're looking at here is the Alter Rebbe Siddur, where he adds a very interesting reasoning, and he actually adds a detail. He adds a word which is not found in other halachic commentators, and he gives his reason for it. So in the Siddur, as I've mentioned before here, he goes through the daily routine and tells you the halachas that go along with the daily routine. This is not uncommon for Siddurim. Yaakov and Siddurs like this, and other Siddurim are like this as well. So Siddurim include often halachas, at least in brief. So the Alter Rebbe Siddur has such halachas, and sometimes there are details there that the Alter Rebbe does not mention in his Code of Jewish Law, which, as I mentioned before, his Code of Jewish Law is primarily a conglomeration of previous opinions, whereas a Siddur already is a departure from that, and sometimes includes his own chidushim, or more of his own chidushim than sometimes even in the Shulchan Aruch, although albeit more brief. So here the Alter Rebbe is like this. So he goes through the process of putting on the tefillin on the hand, making the bracha, the proper intentions, and all the different things about speaking in the middle and when the brachas go, etc. And then he says, and afterwards, yaniach, above the line, below the line is commentary and notes from Rabbi Raskin, who's a dayan in London, who's the current leading scholar on Alter Rebbe Siddur, at least by my estimation. I don't know anybody else has written as extensively as him on that subject. So afterwards, Yaniach as shal rosh b'gova rosh, after he's made the bracha on his right hand and he did the 7 wrappings around his arm, as is our custom based on Arizal, and he's now putting a tefillin on his head, b'gova rosh on the top of the head, as we described just now in the Shulchan Aruch. And then he says, "V'yizori should be careful. She be'emtza roichav harosh. It should be right in the middle of the width of the head. So smack in the middle of the width. This is the width. And put it right in the middle. Mamish, literally. This is a word he adds. Mamish. That word is also mentioned in Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch. I'm sorry. In the Shulchan Aruch and in other halakhic decisors, it does not add the word mamish. But here in the Siddur, he adds mamish, literally in the middle of the head, not just generally speaking in the middle of the head, literally in the middle of the head. It's quite something. And then the Alter Rebbe gives a reasoning, and this is quite an interesting thing, which, for so far as I know, or so far as the scholar Rabbi Raskin here is telling me, is a chiddush min Alter Rebbe, but it's gishmak. It's an interesting little thing. He says like this: Sharia Amru, for we said, Kadesh, when we had this whole dispute between Rashi and Tosfos about the order of Rashi and Rambam and others with respect to the order of how the 4 parashas should be placed in the 4 compartments. But the text of the Mishnah actually said, the text of the Gemara actually read, Kadesh v'hoyek v'yacham yamin, the 2 parashas of Kadesh and v'hoyek v'yacham should be on the right side, v'shema v'hoyem shemaya on the other 2 parashas of Shema v'hoyem shemaya should be on the left. That was the actual text. Now, Ubetfillin shel Rashi, in Rashi's Tefillin, shal parshis kesidron, where the parshas appear in the Tefillin exactly in the order as they are in the Torah, which is Kadesh, going from right to left on my head, meaning if on my head or here, with the Hayam Shemai, sorry, right to left from the person looking at me, from the person looking at me. So it goes on my left side, Kadesh, V'haya Kviyacha, Shema, and V'hayim Shemaya, right? So now you have to have Shema and V'hayim Shemaya on the left, and Kadesh V'haya Kviyacha on the right. Yes? So Ein Bein Yamin L'Smoil Elamashu, there's nothing between the right and the left, the 2 extremes of these 4 parashas, other than a small hairline, just that little line splitting the middle 2 boxes. Right? In Rabbeinu Tam, where you have the 2 orders going in like this, Kadesh v'hoyek v'yachas Shema v'hayim shemaya. So the 2 extreme parshas are on the extreme anyway, whereas Rashi they're not in the extreme. So the 2 middle parshas are right next to each other. So to keep right and left, the only separation between the 2 that have to be on the right and the 2 that have to be on the left is the little scratch between the 2 of them. Therefore you have to be very careful if they're actually on the right and the left. And therefore he has this word mamish, that you literally have to make sure that the tefillin are literally directly in line so that you have the 2 parshas that are on the right actually on the right side of your head, and the 2 parshas on the left actually on the left side of your head. It's quite something. It's a gishmak chiddush.
I'm sure that's a lot about.
Sorry?
I'm not sure everyone holds that.
No, this is Alter Rebbe Siddur.
Yeah.
In the Shulchan Aruch has mentioned this, but in the Siddur he does. So certainly as a Chabadnik, you can be very careful of this. So this is where this, in the footnotes, he puts a small little pilpul
Yeah.
about using a mirror for tefillin. There were those who scoffed at it, using a mirror to put on your tefillin, like, a certain vanity. But nonetheless, he mentions there an interesting story. He makes note of a story that Rebbe writes. You see the Ayin Lukot Sichos Chelik Gimel 853, where he describes how somebody related a story about how the Alter Rebbe was given a gift of a snuff box, like a silver box for shmek tabak, for snuff tobacco. And so someone commented that the Alter Rebbe, the story goes, the Alter Rebbe wasn't interested, didn't indulge in that. So he used the silver as a mirror for his tefillin to make sure his tefillin was absolutely accurate, because he just finished saying it has to be perfect. So you have to look, you have to see that it's accurate. And the person commented, whoever related the story, that the Alter Rebbe broke off the top, so he used the cover as a mirror. And the Rebbe once said, impossible that the Alter Rebbe broke it. The Alter Rebbe didn't break things just at random. So he must have taken out the hinge that holds the top flap, removed it carefully, and then used it as a mirror. The point he's raising this story is because it indicates to you that though there are those who talk about, or I don't know about forbidding, but there are those who kind of make light of those who use mirrors for tefillin. So he's showing you the story. The Alter Rebbe himself used the mirror for tefillin, used a silver box, used the cover of the silver box as a mirror for his tefillin, presumably to follow this idea that it's got to be literally in the middle of the head. Mamish, adding this word mamish. Now, just to conclude the issue of putting on tefillin on the head, there are 3 different customs identified as to how exactly one puts tefillin on the head. One is, you hold the 2 straps on the right side, the tefillin hanging, and the box are hanging, and you put it over your head. That's one. Another custom is, and this, according to accounts, this is what the 5th Chabad Rebbe did, the Rabbi Shab did. You take the knot, you place it on the ledge at the back of the tefillin. Following?
Yeah.
And then so they're on top of each other. The knot is on top of the tefillin itself. Take it, place the tefillin where it's supposed to be on the front of the head, and then you remove the knot and pull it to the back. Following? It's option 2. And number 3 is people who hold the knot in the right hand, the tefillin box in the left hand, and put it over just like that. 3 different customs, all of which are equally valid. Okay, so that actually concludes this section of the Gemara with respect to the laws of tefillin and mezuzah and sefer Torah. And God willing, on Monday we get to the mitzvah of tzitzis, and then we conclude the chapter with that. And we'll have to take a vote on whether or not we want to continue into the next chapter with tzitzis, which gets back to tefillin as well, or we want to switch to a different Gemara. We'll have to discuss that.
Actually, Monday is a civic holiday here.
So maybe Tuesday we'll continue, God willing.
Tuesday, yeah.
Okay, wonderful Shabbos, everybody.